Hello, and welcome to the Tainted Lands Mist of Mournton. I'm RJ Cresswell, the Dungeon Master, and tonight we're playing for our 11th consecutive week, so I think that's something to kind of celebrate. We haven't missed a week yet. We are going to meet all of the players in just a little bit, but first, during last week's session, you entered the hollow of the old dead tree and found that it descended underground to a warm but eerie burrow home. Hazel Mossfoot, an aged woman with stringy hair, liver spots, rotten teeth, and a clubbed foot, welcomed you in and offered you food and shelter for the night. Your party asked about Lessick, and she told you that she would tell you what she knows of Lessick and where to find Lessick if you recovered her lucky coin from the barrow of Earl Roggenwalder. She'd loaned it to him, but he died long ago before returning it. You agreed, and everyone rested in the burrow home for the night. But before sleeping, Wallace spoke to Hazel about gaining her aid to help him on his own quest. She agreed to speak with him about that after the party returned with the coin. Hazel left the burrow through a tunnel, and earth grew over the way she had left. Then Wallace noticed Toby was holding a black metal sphere, etched with sigils he didn't understand. He took the sphere from Toby and stashed it in the bag of holding. After that, the party slept through the night without incident. Toby was not excited about the prospect of visiting a gravesite, and Hazel agreed to shelter him while the party was away. Hazel's light led the party through the woods to the barrow. Outside of the barrow was a knight's sable and silver striped pavilion, and sable banners emblazoned with a silver spider. There were also a few graves outside of the barrow. The party saw that there was a knight in black plate mail, and emblazoned on the plate mail was a silver spider on its chest. He was scouring his helm in a barrel of sand, and you learned that he was Sir Pake of Tagil, and he was the knight of the barrow. Sir Pake would not allow your party to enter the barrow unless Sir Kay could best him in combat. Sir Kay agreed to the fight, but suggested that it not be a duel to the death. Sir Pake agreed, but he said he would fight with his all, but he would allow Sir Kay to yield if he did so. After several rounds of vigorous combat, Sir Pake fell, and Sir Kay chose to subdue him instead of killing him. Sir Kay then carried Sir Pake to his pavilion, but took his greatsword, a weapon of remarkable quality. After defeating Sir Pake, the party used magic to burn a wooden door that barred entrance to the barrow. After it was damaged, Sir Kay broke it down, but heard a puffing noise and inhaled this caustic, kind of rotten air, and it burned in his nose. After the air cleared, the party entered to find roots growing through the walls of the barrow, debris strewn about the floor, several stones stacked in piles against the walls, and a stale putrid scent. Then something from within the barrow began firing arrows from the darkness. You closed the distance and discovered that Earl Roggenwalder had become a wight. He had the visage of a corpse, his flesh rotted and hung from his bones, and his eyes glowed in the darkness. Though a threat that injured several members of the party, you were able to subdue the dead Earl quickly, and you recovered the coin, a chest with a small fortune, a ring of black metal, arrows, and both a longbow and shield of remarkable quality. Having recovered what you came for and more, you followed Hazel's light through the treacherous woods back to the forest clearing she lives under. Upon entering the clearing, you notice that there is a living oak in place of the dead tree that led down to her burrow home, and you hear Hazel's voice. It seems to surround you in the forest, and it reminds you of a frightening moment you had as a child. Before we go any further, take a moment and tell us who you are, who you're playing, and what that frightening moment was. So, Eric, let's start with you.
Oh, joy. I'm Eric. I play Sir Adrian, the currently heavily wounded paladin, and the childhood memory that he'd be reminded of right now would be this deep-rooted fear based on running through back alleys and hearing the sounds of heavy, kind of plated boots behind him. as he remembers being run down by a couple of guards. And there would be some pain involved, probably blacked out at one point. And after that, the next thing he remembers would be waking up in that back alley, something akin to bruised or cracked ribs, and sort of stumbling his way back out with none of the food he had stolen that he still had with him.
Okay. All right. Shondell.
Well, I'm Shondell. I play Junie. She is a half wood elf fighter. And Junie's memory is definitely not that in depth or that detailed. But Junie's memory of like when she was most frightened as a child would be when she had to leave her like equivalent to a hometown. Not really, because like she lived in the woods, but like that's the best way I can describe it right now. After it after it was under siege by this tyrannical lord, that took over the land and essentially destroyed everything. So she essentially watched as a child her childhood home, most of her family and friends, and just the land that she grew up on and came to love essentially completely destroyed.
Okay. All right, Lewis.
Hello, my name is Lewis. I'm playing as Wallace, the Hell Dwarf cleric. Most frightening moment of his childhood probably takes him back to the first time he ever saw someone get killed. He was probably around 6 years old, and he's basically stumbled in onto something that he wasn't meant to see, and all he remembers is like the splat of blood like hitting his face before he sort of like ran back and told his wet nurse like what he saw, and he's kind of like repressed that.
Okay.
That kind of like brings it back in a brief moment.
All right. I do want to point out that currently you are traveling with Wynn, but for anybody watching, our player Jess is having some technical issues right now and is trying to join us, but her laptop is not cooperating. So we hope she comes in, but her character is still very much here with us. I won't share her memory because she hadn't disclosed it yet, so I'm not sure what it is. And Kristen, you're back with us this week, and we're glad to have you back. Toby is currently not in the forest clearing, but if you'll go ahead and just share that with us, I'd appreciate it. Share Toby's memory.
Sure. Hi, I am Kristen. I'll be playing Toby, Rock Gnome Warlock. It's been a very, very long time since he's been a child, so everything is super vague for him, but one thing that he can kind of recall is exploring the mountains and caves near his home and kind of pushing further and further to see how far he can go without getting in trouble, and thinking that he probably went too far one day and didn't know how to get out and was a little surrounded by his own echoes and maybe not sure if it was him or somebody else, and extremely frightened, and then all of a sudden to the point where he just thinks he's from here. His mother comes and gets him, finds him in the cave, and takes him back home. Obviously he's in big trouble for wandering off, but just of sheer panic is always kind of fresh in his mind.
Okay, all right. And I just had a little bit of an issue on my end over here, so I am going to kick us to the break screen for about 1 minute. We'll be right back. So before we took that little bit of a break there to address something, you all were in the clearing. and you notice that this tree that you had previously gone into, it was like this huge rotten oak, and it had this hollowed out kind of chamber that you could go into and descend underground. When you come to the clearing this time, you notice that this oak tree is no longer dead and rotten. It is a very living oak. You know, one of the tallest trees you've seen in the woods so far, one of the biggest trees you've seen in the woods so far. And as you step into the clearing, you hear Hazel's voice, but you don't see Hazel. It appears to be coming from the forest around you. You focus in on her words. One of you has taken something from me, so I've taken someone from you. Return the sphere and my coin, and I will tell you how to find Toby. Now, as you hear the words, you notice that this exit to the forest clearing has kind of inexplicably closed again, and you are just surrounded kind of like by a wall of forest. Seemingly no way to get out other than trespassing through the treacherous forest. So as you hear her words and notice that there's no way out, you begin to kind of hear sort of like the snap of twigs and the rustle of leaves. And kind of at one edge of the forest, you see a person-like figure exiting the forest. And it walks across the clearing, and as it does, again, you hear kind of like this snapping of twigs and this rustling of leaves, and whatever's coming towards you, it just has kind of like these jerky, unnatural movements as it's walking. And as it gets closer, you see that it's kind of a being seemingly made from the stuff of the forest. Wood and leaf and full of malice. It stands in front of you with kind of like these... You think that you sense almost like hate from its gaze. But other than that, it's a fairly blank stare, and it extends something like a hand towards you. What do you do?
I pull out the orb and hand it over.
Okay.
No questions asked, and I'm going to say out loud as I do this, I'm just going to say, this was entirely a misunderstanding.
What about the coin? Should we try to get the coin back too?
I'm not handing over the coin yet. I'm handing over the orb first, because that was the first thing she asked for.
That's true.
So I hand over the sphere, and I just say, this was entirely a misunderstanding. That was discovered in the clutches of our little friend Toby, and he has a habit of picking up arcane objects that he doesn't know what to do with. So we put it away thinking it might be dangerous. I had no idea it was yours.
This is your orb? This your orb?
I give Wallace a really sharp elbow, and it's intended to go into his side, but I kind of forget that he's a dwarf, so I just elbow him in the temple.
Alright, so you state your words of explanation, and then Wallace begins to speak, and you just kind of elbow him, but you're kind of tall, he's kind of short, and you end up kind of like, striking him not quite where you wanted to. So as you say that, Hazel, you'll hear her voice once again from the forest. And my coin, hand over my coin.
Told ya.
I hold it up and I just say, as long as Toby's unharmed.
Toby is unharmed.
Prove it.
I will, once you return my coin and follow my directions.
I just I do that thing where, so I have proficiency in sleight of hand. I do that thing where I roll the coin across the backs of my knuckles, because I still have it. I got all this stuff on me because of the bag of holding. And I stand there and I consider it for a moment.
Okay.
And then I just kind of shrug, almost like I'm considering keeping it, and then I just flick it towards the thing, and I've got no reason to keep it.
All right. So you flick it towards the thing. It just kind of like, you kind of take your thumb, flick it towards him. It just strikes the thing like right in the forehead, It falls to the ground. It has to bend down and rustle and kind of like snap to pick it up. And then it does. And after it picks it up, it begins walking towards the forest, away from you. And it will disappear into the forest. Then you hear Hazel once more. Now I demand the thief pay the blood price.
I did it. It's my fault.
No, it's no, mate. I can't let you do that.
Well,
I took your reward. And I tried to tell you, but you kind of got into an honourable joke, so there wasn't really any time. What are you wanting? An ear or a hand? What's the crack?
Alright.
I just look at the both of you and I'm just like, can you maybe, just once not get us into trouble? Because that's so hard.
I just give her one of these. I'm done at this point.
Alright.
Well,
So-
he was cuddling it in his sleep, so I took it off him.
As you make your explanation, Lewis, Wallace is kind of like looking towards the clearing, and as he kind of fesses up to being the thief, you notice that in the center of the clearing, this kind of stone slab materializes, and upon the stone slab is a knife. You hear her once more. Take the knife and spill your blood on the stone.
Sound. I'm gonna pick up the knife and I'm just gonna kind of, in the palm of my hand, just like cut and then like.
Okay, so as you pick up the knife, you look at it. It is metal with a wooden handle, but the wood is very old, and the blade of the knife is extremely rusty.
Like hepsy rusty, like.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting looking.
Dude,
And
you should have let me do it. I'm immune to disease.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be like,
all right,
and then a palm.
as you do that, a searing pain racks your body. As you take
This distressing feeling often caused by intense or damaging stimuli. Definition defines pain as an unpleasant.
Thanks, Siri. So I said a searing
It used to be the highlight that goes up in the
pain.
man.
Yeah. Okay. That moment was supposed to be a little more intense than comedic. So this pain racks your body as you take one permanent hit point damage. As your blood spills from your hand onto the stone, you instantly feel weak from this. Color flushes from your face. Then as you do that, you notice you're no longer holding a knife, you're holding a shovel. Then you notice that there's no longer a stone at your feet, but kind of like a burial mound in the ground. And you hear Hazel's voice once more. I'd get to digging in fast while Toby still breathes.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Okay.
no. Oh no, okay, I'm gonna run over to Wallet, and I picked up a shovel somewhere along the line, I don't remember.
Alright, you do that. You do that, and as you do that, you hear Hazel's voice, and she says, no, he must do it alone.
Okay.
Now,
It's not fair, he's my friend.
alright, you make your pleas, but they go unreturned. Wallace, I want you to first give me a strength roll. Or athletics, we'll just do athletics.
17.
Okay. Now, even though you know this must be a fairly fresh grave, it is very much like digging in the cold, hard, icy ground. This is not loose, fresh soil. It appears frozen, and it is a bit of a trial to do this. Give me a Constitution saving throw. Next.
6.
6. Okay. Now, you work at this, going as fast as you can, and as you do it, you are already feeling weak. And then, you feel, kind of like the strength sort of leaving your body, and about the moment that you almost feel like you're to collapse, you hear the shovel hit something hard, kind of like metal against wood. But yeah, there's still kind of like, just kind of scrapes across it. You can tell that you've hit what you were trying to get to, but you just got to excavate it a little bit more. So
I'm going to do that, just with whatever energy I've got left to clear more of it.
Alright, so you do it. You've dug down several feet into the ground, and eventually you'll clear enough of the soil away to reveal a small-sized coffin. The wood appears, very old, but it's kind of like...
It's like locked for that?
It's closed.
I'm going to try to open it.
Okay, give me a strength check on that, because it's nailed shut.
3.
3. Okay. Alright, you think you hear kind of a giggle in the forest. You can try again.
I'm missed. No, doesn't matter. 16.
16? Okay. That time you manage to pry away the lid from the coffin. And as you do, and kind of lift it up out of the hole that you've dug, you reveal Toby. Toby's face is pale, and his lips are blue. He appears very still. And as you toss the casket lid out of the hole, Toby will sit up and just take a very deep gasp, for air. And you all hear this.
I'm just going to start saying pineapples.
Right.
He jumps up and grabs your neck, like little.
Oh, I thought he was throttling it for a second.
I was like,
grabbing just as a sigh of relief to be out of there and that you helped them.
All right. Well, let me also say this to you, Kristen. As far as Toby, when you come to, kind of like with this gasping for air, you look around and you see, you notice almost immediately that you are within this wooden casket, and you can tell that the casket has been buried underground. And then, of course, Wallace is standing over you, saying pineapples. And you see this, and you're very confused because you don't have any memory of being put into a casket. You don't have any memory of being buried alive or anything like that. The last thing you remember is watching your party leave the Burrow home and hearing Hazel say, "It's a pity, Toby, but you look tired anyway. Sleep." And that's the last thing you remember.
I'm just saying
dead? After you're not dead.
I
I thought this was gonna be hell.
You might not be wrong.
Just Wallace saying pineapple over and over again.
Pretty much. I'm just standing there like, Hazel, we pineapples, I want this to stop, and I'm just gonna pass out.
Alright, so
like sheer exhaustion.
okay.
No.
Alright. So, Toby, just so you know, you grab onto Wallace, being relieved, and you're, communicating with your party mates, thinking that you were dead and you had awoken in hell, and your hell was Wallace saying pineapples over and over again. And Wallace makes one more comment to Hazel, and then as you're holding him, you can tell that he's about to pitch, into the dirt, into the casket that you just got out of. So, just so you know, he's much bigger fellow than Toby is. So, do you want to try to get out of the way, or do you want to try to keep him from falling, or help him fall without injury?
Do you just fall back, or?
I don't really have much control over it. It's just
he just went full thinking.
Yeah. Since I'm imagining that since you're kind of holding on to his neck in front of him, that's probably going to cause him to kind of come forward, more than likely. So.
I think it happens really quickly, but I don't know if you would have a chance to get out of the way.
Yeah.
God.
I mean, I think, nobody's Toby. Toby is a gnome. You're fairly small. I would think you could probably get out of the way. Your options would be try to get out of the way, try to brace Wallace, or something along those lines, or just try to help him fall so that he doesn't injure himself. So you got about 3 options that I would let you attempt. Which one do you think Toby would try?
He's super weak from being in this coffin, so it's gonna try to help him cushion the fall, I guess.
Okay, all right. You can give me a strength.
Try to maybe place him on the side, if someone falls on you, and then you're just try to roll them over.
Okay, all right. You can try to do that with a strength check.
Yeah, so good at that. With my -1 strength. 5.
All right. Wallace takes 3 points of damage as Toby, you're trying to help guide him, in his fall, but you just can't manage. You're too weak. You're still trying to catch your breath, and then he just slips, and Wallace's head just kind of cracks against the wooden casket as he falls. Casket kind of splinters, and you see, a shard of wood just kind of sticking out of his cheek, All right.
Oh, yeah, I'm tapped out.
Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that Junie and Sir Kay are probably standing over the grave at this point.
Sir Kay, impossibly laughing. Laughing the whole thing. Can't help it. He's at that point where they've been under so much stress and lack of sleep that he's gone.
Judy's just gonna shake her head, roll her eyes, and he's laughing, and then Wallace is just passed out on top of Toby, and just be like, oh my god. And she's gonna do her best to probably try to get Toby out from underneath the list and up. I'm assuming it's a hole, a fairly deep hole.
Yeah, it's about 4 feet down.
Okay, yeah, so she's just gonna leave Wallace there. She just wants to get Toby out.
Okay. All right.
I'll try and get Wallace out.
Alright, so Junie will kind of reach down for you, Toby, and help you climb out of the hole. She'll pull you up. That should be pretty easy for her. Sir Kay,
Wallace just keeps getting us into these messes. I'm like, just leave him. He's fine.
Alright. So, Sir Kay will climb down and try to get Wallace out. Go ahead and give me a strength check on that.
17.
All right, he'll do that. You're lifting his dead weight, but it's
not dead. That's kind of shot with him.
Okay. All right. Well, you do that, and you manage to get him out of the grave and onto the floor of the forest in the clearing. And As you climb out, once again, you kind of hear a chuckle from the forest. And then you hear... well, actually, is there anything you wish to do with Wallace as he's kind of unconscious on the ground?
No, but I am gonna I'm gonna take a brief walk to the edge of the clearing, just for a quick second, and I just calm myself down because I was just laughing like a maniac for a few minutes there.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna depart from the rest of the group, and I'm gonna whisper to myself, Hazel, you another deal.
Eric, you kind of cut out on me. I didn't hear you.
I just whisper quietly to myself, Hazel, are you a friend of the dean?
And same thing, I hear Hazel, and I didn't hear what you said after that.
He just very quietly, to himself, asks if Hazel's up for another deal.
As you say that, you hear, kind of more localized in your area, our current deal is not quite fulfilled, and I'm afraid I might have misjudged you all. I'll have to think on that.
Have you any interest in a secret that might not be in your book? If you do, let me know. And I'll start walking back towards the group.
Alright. You do that. Now, Lewis, Wallace wasn't officially down to 0 hit points or anything like that. You gave some flavor for us right there. So I'm going to assume that you're not out for very long. But when you come to, no one has done anything. You very much have kind of like a shard of wood, kind of jutting out of your cheek. You can see it in your vision. It's right by your eye. And
So I'm just gonna be
you do that, and it's a little spurt of blood, as you pull it out. But yeah, you see kind of Sir Kay is walking back from the edge of the clearing. You were lying on the ground. Toby and Junior kind of standing near you. And about that moment, you hear, "The blood price is paid, and my items returned. Let it not be said that Hazel refuses to honor a bargain. Lessick once was a man, but is no more. His body remade like the ones from before. If you see him, it's too late, your own mind has known. And his will becomes just like the will of your own. If it's weakness you seek, there is none you shall find, but use magic and you'll have a difficult time. Follow my light and don't stop. Follow my light, don't stop to where I hold no power. Then just follow the trail till you see an old tower. The stars there are strange and might fall on your head. If it happens, don't worry, you'll only be dead." And as you hear that, she kind of cackles once more, and it echoes across the clearing. And you look around, and you see that the exit to the clearing is now open. And as you're looking that direction, this kind of glowing light in the distance materializes. Once again, reminds you of someone carrying a lantern off in the fog.
Do we really want to be running into a fight with Lessick right now, considering might have a these kids pretty much out of stuff, and Toby's just came out of a freshly dug grave and was almost buried alive.
We'll travel as far as we can and we'll rest. Right now, I don't think any of us feel like resting in this clearing.
Alright, and I will say this, Lewis, Wallace is currently at 1 level of exhaustion, which means you'll have disadvantage on ability checks.
He's just gonna go and pluck out another sliver out of the side of Wallace's face and just say, "You're down."
He's not even going to be kind of making coherent sense. He's going to reply and just look at The walls in my house aren't 4 feet high. And he's gonna like walk on like that was like a completely normal thing to say, yeah.
Just that. I don't know.
I'm just gonna look at Judy and like you're just gonna see this look of like it's almost like that look you see when a new parent starts trying to bargain with a toddler. Well, it's gonna be that look of combined like exhaustion and desperation.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start following the light.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Will you follow the light then? And the light will lead you through the forest and the treacherous woods that you've traveled before, but it will take you it'll take you through paths that you've not yet been. And you'll end up traveling for hours. Now, when we played last session, your characters had started pretty early in the day. And you did not travel for very long before finding the barrow. And you did not travel for very long coming back to the forest clearing. So it's not quite dark yet, but you will travel on into the night until it gets dark and the mists around you kind of thicken much more. Hey. Okay. Now,
I think I'm finally back.
okay. All right. Let me adjust some things on my end real quick. So, people shifted around on me.
We're all still alive, surprisingly.
Oh,
It was a close call because we apparently stole from Hazel. We gave back the orb and the coin,
okay.
and she didn't kill us, but she did make Wallace dig Toby out of his own grave. Which was weird. That's a thing that totally just happened. Wallace blacked out. And yeah.
Oh, wow.
Also, Wallace is apparently a battling idiot now. More so than usual.
Well, I mean, hasn't he always been to some degree? I mean,
Yeah, but like before it was like 50-50, now it's been like 80-20.
You could at least understand them before. Yeah, pretty much before that.
no, just absolutely pure nonsense.
Okay, yeah, so I think they caught you up just, but essentially what's happened is you travel back from the barrow. When you got to the clearing, you noticed that the old hollowed out tree was no more. In its place was kind of like a very healthy looking oak tree. And then essentially what happened was you heard Hazel's voice saying that someone had stolen something from her. And so she took someone from you. And then what transpired after that was a being came out of the woods, seemingly made out of the woods itself. And ultimately your party ended up giving the spear back and the coin. And Hazel told the party that she demanded the thief pay a blood price. And Sir Kay attempted to do that, and Wallace spoke up and said, no, it's my fault, essentially. And then in the clearing, in the middle of the clearing of the forest, a stone materialized, and on the stone was this kind of like old rusted knife. And Hazel, instructed Wallace to come forward and spill blood on the stone. And he cut his hand, cried out in pain, and blood, fell upon the stone. And then almost immediately, everyone saw Wallace holding a shovel instead of the knife. And then they saw instead of the kind of instead of the stone on the ground, there was like a burial mound. And Hazel instructed Wallace to dig Toby up by himself. And he did. He found Toby in a casket, opened the casket. Wallace had some troubles kind of like digging down and opening the casket. And by the time he did, Toby's face was pale and his lips were blue. He sits up gasping for air. And then Wallace just kind of like pitches into the dirt. Toby tries to hold him up, but instead he falls, hits his head against the casket. A shard of wood kind of like pokes into his cheek and is like jutting out. Judy gets Toby out of the grave, and then Sir Kay climbs down and lifts Wallace out of the grave. Sir Kay walks off for a little bit by himself. Wallace eventually comes to, and it's about this point that Hazel kind of recites this bit of verse for you. She says the blood price has been paid, her items returned, and she intends to honor her deal that she made with your party. Now, since you weren't here for it, I'm going to kind of repeat it for you, just so you hear it. I'm not going to read it in her voice this time, but essentially what she said was, Lessick once was a man, but is no more. His body remade like the ones from before. If you see him, it's too late. Your own mind is known, and his will becomes just like the will of your own. If it's weakness you seek, there is none you shall find, but use magic and you'll have a difficult time. Follow my light, don't stop to where I hold no power. Then just follow the trail till you see an old tower. The stars there are strange and might fall on your head. If it happens, don't worry, you'll only be dead. Now, at that point, the clearing opens up, the light materializes, and when you joined us, everyone was just getting ready to follow the light, or had just begun following the light into the forest. So, I was telling them that, you guys had been quick enough that you had gone to the barrow and back before dusk, light, still up, but once you start traveling into the forest, you will travel on into the night. You'll travel for hours, and as you're looking at Wallace, you can tell that he is suffering a good bit of exhaustion, from the ordeal that he's gone through, but he's managing to keep up with everyone. Now, the light will lead you to a trail where the mist is not so heavy. And then kind of like, as it exits the mist, the light just kind of dematerializes in front of you.
This just gets more and more exciting.
Well, I'd say this is about as good a time as any to take a rest, because now we're beyond her boundary, and we have a trail to follow.
Yeah, sure. I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only postponing our impending death, so let's
Six. So 6.
It'll be okay, Wallace. It'll be okay.
I'm just kind of I'm gonna take Wallace's head in my hands for a second, tilt his, I'm gonna turn on dancing lights behind my head, so I'm kind of backlit a little bit. I'm just gonna check and see if he's concussed.
Does Sir Kay actually have medicine? Is he proficient in medicine?
Hell no.
Okay.
Just assuming he has suffered from a concussion before.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that he has, but I'm not sure that Sir Kay knows what to look for there exactly. You're looking at him. You can tell that he's all out of sorts, but you're not exactly sure.
Try. If Sir Kay is actually doing that, it's pretty much just kind of like if you're trying to screw his head back on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm just shifting it slightly side to side, yeah.
He's kind of bug-eyed at the minute, and his eyes are just and the lights are kind of distracting him as he's looking about.
Alright. Okay.
Just turn the lights off, and I'm just gonna be no, he's not dying.
Yeah.
Alright. You feel fairly certain of that. So, but as you're kind of checking him over, you notice where he cut his hand earlier. It's kind of festered and pussy, and it looks pretty nasty.
We should.
I just take it some of the really harsh alcohol I still have, because I still have 3 bottles of that stuff, and I'm just gonna dump it on his hand ceremoniously. Yeah, okay. We're doing this up.
So, Lewis, I'm sure Wallace is out of sorts as you've kind of made clear. But all of a sudden, this kind of blinding pain just snaps you back, as you feel, just kind of this, again, just horrible pain across your hand. It just burns,
Cringeworthy as well.
I'm just, you're just gonna hear him scream, and you I'm not gonna even attempt it because it's in the morning, but it's 2 octaves higher than he should be able to scream. It's like almost like a dog whistle.
The minute he opens his mouth to scream, I just stuff a cloth in his mouth. Stone wrapped in it so that he's muted.
All right. Yeah, you muffle you will eventually muffle the scream, but he definitely because you may be expecting that, but you didn't expect what came out of his mouth,
Right, it's one of those things where making it for I'm not trying that hard.
Yeah. All right. So you had mentioned the possibility of stopping for rest. Is that what you all intend to do? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, my family just got home, so I'm going to go check in with them real quick. If you don't mind, we'll take our normal break about 30 minutes early, and we'll take a 5-minute break right here, and we'll pick up from this point. Okay?
Cool.
Okay.
So after the rest.
What's that?
Well, it doesn't matter. We can talk when we get back.
Yeah, we'll pick up from the break afterwards.
Cool. Sweet.
So before we took our break, you all had left the clearing in the woods where Hazel resides, and you followed this kind of glowing orb of light through the mist and the forest, across treacherous woods for hours. It was daylight when you left the clearing, and by the time we took our break, you had ventured on into the night. Everyone, is kind of like almost on this forced march, trying to, keep up with the light. And you get to a point where the light kind of like floats out into an area where it's not as heavily covered with mist as the area that you've been walking through. In fact, it's pretty clear. And as the light leaves this area, ahead of you, you notice it just kind of like dissipates into the air, and the light is no more. And once you exit to where the light had disappeared, you notice that there is a very visible trail in front of you on the road. And about that point, I think you had all suggested that perhaps you might want to stop here for a bit of a rest. So, tell me what's going on with that.
Okay, are we doing a short rest or a long rest? Because one of us is exhausted and it's night, and yeah. How do we want to do this?
I don't know. We're about to fight less. Like this, we should probably take a long rest.
It's
Yeah.
right? Like we're into the night now.
You're into the night now, yes.
Okay. So yeah, either way, it is what it is. I say a long rest considering the state of exhaustion that Wallace is in and how injured Sir Kay is. Yeah.
Okay.
Would be most beneficial.
All right, so you all are looking at taking a long rest. You kind of look around on the sides of the trail that you're on, and you can see a discernible difference between what kind of like once you left the kind of misty area of the forest. Again, I've described the woods as being treacherous, and that's because they very much are. Had you not been guided by this light that was sort of delivering you safely upon a path. But as you come out to where this trail is, this path is, the woods aren't nearly as thick. I mean, they're still trees. It's still forest, but there's a lot more space between trees. And once again, it's not nearly as foggy or misty or whatever in this area of the forest. You are much deeper in the forest now. So you see several places that are flat and clear enough to set up camp if you'd like.
Yep, we should probably decide on launches.
I'll take.
I'm at
Wallace, you're not taking one.
Yeah, no. You are going to...
Sure, I won't argue.
I'll take the first one because I'm pretty banged up. so I'll take first if that's alright. Get that over with right away.
Okay. All right. So you're taking first watch. Who's taking second watch?
I'll take second.
All right. Junie's on second. Who's on third?
I can take third.
What's on third?
Yeah. Toby's on third.
Sorry.
What?
Oh, gosh.
No, who's on third?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it who's on third?
And then let's see, Jess, I
And that
assume
leaves
you're gonna
me
take fourth.
Fourth.
All right. Okay. All right. So how do you set up your encampment? What are you doing? Paint a picture for me.
Banked fire to not give us as much light. If there's any light that can be moved around to make noise if someone kind of enters our little piece of it, we can do that. And then, if any of the trees are big enough, people that can climb or are small enough to get up a tree are more than welcome.
I'm spooning a sizable branch, I'm just cuddling into this big log.
I'll stay on the ground and just guard Wallace so he doesn't go happy wander on us.
Yeah.
All right.
Before Junie falls asleep, she's gonna kind of scope out the trees to see if there is one that she can climb that will also give her a really good vantage point.
Okay. For her watch, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. For her watch, she's just gonna do it really quickly. So when it's her turn, she just hurries up the tree and.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure that she can find one to climb that
Okay.
would offer what she's looking for. So,
Okay.
Okay. So that happens. Now, Eric, Sir Kay is taking watch. And as you know, I've told you all numerous times, you are very much in the dead of winter, so it is frightfully cold. It's not snowing, but you can see the sky above you through some trees. Again, not quite as thick of an area of the forest that you're in right now. And around you on the ground, the cold hard ground, there are snowbanks here and there where it's kind of falling through from the breaks in the canopies above. But other than just kind of the occasional sound of the wind through the trees, you hear nothing that alarms you throughout your watch. Is there anything you would be doing while you're on watch?
Probably just reminiscing. That memory coming back unbidden has him a little bit shaken, so he's just kind of going over, settling himself a little bit. Just doing his best to relax as well as he can in the middle of the woods at night.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's like as much as a soldier can relax in the trenches kind of deal, where it's like they relax enough to sleep, they relax enough to actually gain some rest, but other than that, they're on pretty high alert and pretty twitchy.
All right. So eventually, you'll think that you've kind of watched enough, and it's Junie's time. It's time for you to get some rest.
Yep.
So
just kind of wake her up gently.
Okay. All right. So Junie, you're awoken by Sir Kay.
Yeah, she's gonna moan and groan. She's having a really nice dream. She's gonna yawn, wake up, and stand up, and she's gonna find the tree that she was scoping out, climb up it, and just figure out. Just kind of look through the trees, look about the woods, and figure out the best way to just to kind of look over everything and just sit up there and chill. Again, she's just gonna kind of think of memory that was she was forced to kind of remember earlier, and she's gonna start writing because she's got an ink and a quill and some paper. She's just gonna start kind of writing more so like a journal entry, like how she was feeling, and just trying to get her thoughts and everything down on paper, just in an attempt to try to forget them. Her mind, essentially.
Okay. All right. So she's kind of making this journal entry.
Yeah.
Okay. And, very similar to what I mentioned with Eric earlier, you hear the sound of the wind, but nothing to alarm you. And as I've mentioned to you before, the main thing that you notice about being in these woods is kind of like the just total silence, of not hearing much by way of like wildlife or anything like that, no birds or no insects or,
That's something that she's also going to notice how eerily and creepy quiet it is, that there is no regular sounds of the woods that there should be. And she knows pretty much all of them because that's where she grew up. That's what she grew up hearing. So she's just going to note that.
Yeah. And she'll spend, some time, being vigilant, but, making notes in her journal. And, eventually, she'll watch for a few hours and, feel, ready to get more rest, for the night. So.
All right. And she can cut him down, and there's Toby that was next.
Toby was next, yes.
Yes, she's going to go wake up Toby very quietly and gingerly.
Alright, what?
It's your watch. I'm going back to bed.
Have a rest. He's gonna go like kind of just sit on the ground but over next to the wallet to make sure that like nothing, if something bad were to happen, he would try to protect him because he feels like kind of in debt right now for helping him get out of this coffin.
Okay, all right. So you kind of like take watch a little closer to Wallace.
Yeah.
And you're kind of, there next to him. What would Toby be doing, do you think, as you're just sort of being vigilant and looking around?
He also has some writing material, so yeah, I mean, he would be probably documenting what happened, kind of research-esque. I mean, all of this is new territory for him, so he's gonna try to, write everything down and kind of ponder if there's connections or, why would all these items be coming up all of a sudden? Why does the forest and these creatures have these items, and trying to think of different links between them. And that's what he's going to be writing and pondering.
Okay, all right. So Toby's doing that, and as it's getting later on into kind of like the earlier parts of the morning, still very much dark, the temperature, drops considerably, and, find himself, kind of like shivering, beside Wallace in the cold. But other than that, nothing much to speak of. Nothing catches his attention. Nothing happens. And you feel like you could catch a little bit more rest before getting up for the day. All right, and you know that you were supposed to wake up when?
Yeah, he goes over there and gently wakes her up. It's kind of out of character for him to do that, but he's trying to like be gentle and knows she can turn into a wolfie now, so he's a little scared of that. So he's just like, that's nice.
Okay. All right.
I imagine nudging her from like a foot away with a stick.
Yeah, basically, he's like,
All right, Jess. So Wynn is ever so delicately woken from her slumber. As you turn over, you see, Toby just kind of like nudging you very, very softly.
With the stick. Okay.
know.
Wynn's confused, but
this is my waking.
okay then.
What have I done?
Wynn's confused, but doesn't really question it because she's already realized that Toby is quite. So she'll just let that go.
Now
All right.
this is my cane.
Oh. Okay.
All right. So Wynn wakes. I'm assuming Toby will go back to get a little more rest. And Jess, what does Wynn do as she's on her watch?
Well, Sir Kay got a fire going the night before,
Mm-hmm.
so Wynn will get back up for morning. Think back about how things went in that tomb and kind of just ponder over rage that took over her.
Okay. So she thinks about
Something
that.
Something she never really expected.
Okay. Yeah. And you were kind of having some connectivity issues when we started earlier. If you would, we kind of like all shared kind of like a memory. So like when you came to the clearing of the forest earlier, and you first heard Hazel's voice, kind of like almost immediately, Wynn thought back to a moment in her childhood that had scared her terribly. So if you could kind of share that moment with us, what do you think is something that would have frightened Wynn as a child?
Both her parents were wizards, and so there was probably at least one occasion where she got into some of her parents' items that she was not supposed to, and yeah.
Accidental wand fireballs?
Yeah. And set a good part of their study on fire.
All right. Okay. So she had caused something like that. All right. Now, as Wynn is kind of like kind of building the fire up for morning, day has not yet broken yet, and the camp light, or the firelight, is causing shadows to flicker around the camp as she builds it higher and higher, trying to kind of like build a fire to ward off this cold that has kind of like intensified as you were sleeping. And when she awoke, and she was chattering, and her teeth were chattering, and she was shivering, and it took her a while to kind of like build up the temperature to stop that. But she bundled up and began thinking about these things, and then it was getting a little closer to daybreak, but not quite daybreak, and she decided to build up this fire. And as she does, make a perception roll for me.
Oh,
Oh dear.
yeah.
But what? Oh.
6?
6? Okay. Oh, roll again.
Oh. 7?
Okay. All right. So she's building the fire up, And just kind of as she's doing it, she's thinking about all the things that you mentioned earlier, and all of a sudden you begin hearing these whoops and howls that you've heard previously before. And before you have a moment to react, the eyeless descend upon you from the forest. All right. So.
Not good.
Have we gotten the benefits of a long rest at this point?
You have definitely gotten the benefit of a long rest at this point. So.
We are sound.
Let's kick some butt.
Now.
No, I'm still sleeping.
There are 4 of them that come from the forest. And one of them strikes you with this kind of like spiked club that it's holding. And it lays into you with it.
I guess we're all still sleeping, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just has to wake us up first.
At this point, I'm getting spooned by the log. I've
Right.
turned into a little spoon all night.
It does 7 points of damage as it strikes into you. And another one attempts to club you as well and is successful at it. That one's only for 5 points of damage, though. So 12 points of damage altogether. And I'm assuming you have no damage, not immunities, but resistances or anything, correct?
Not at the moment.
Right. So it doesn't matter what kind, but you definitely feel some bludgeoning and some piercing, as the club strikes you and the spikes on it kind of like dig into your flesh. And then there are a couple of others that attempt to kind of like subdue you, but they can't, with the others striking you with their clubs, they can't, quite get a hold of you. All right. Now,
Okay.
what would Wynn do? How would Wynn react?
She would cry out, I think, at those hits. Then pull her up as she draws her sword. And
I'm just...
All right, so she draws her sword. There are 4. What does she wish to do with her sword? Because you do have time to react. You kind of cry out in pain from being injured unexpectedly.
She will attack one of the ones that hit her.
Okay. All right, so give me a roll.
Oh, that didn't land right. Landed between 2 numbers on my keyboard. Unnatural 20.
That hits. Roll damage.
Damage.
How much was it?
8.
8. Okay. All right, so you slash into it with a sword. Blood spills upon the ground beneath you. It whoops out in what you can only assume is pain, but it does not fall. All right. Is there anything else that Wynn can do?
No, she raged as a bonus action and then attacked. So that would be it.
Okay. All right. So back up to the top of the round. Okay. She takes another 10 points of damage as she's struck by a club.
Okay, she is raging, so she is resistant to the bludgeoning.
Okay. All right. So that was. So we'll say that it was 6 points of damage instead.
Okay.
All right. So she takes that damage. Now you need to make a strength roll because one of the eyeless has managed to get its kind of like arms around you, and as you can tell, attempting to drag you away from your campsite.
Raging, I have advantage.
Barbarians, man.
Natural 20.
Okay. All right. You're raging and you just, kind of like Conan the thing off of you, So, that being said, you break free from it. What do you wish to do? If you said something, I missed it.
Guys, wake up.
5 more minutes.
And she'll attack again.
Okay.
I suppose at this point that we do hear the commotion, probably.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in just a second. I just want to hear what she's doing on her turn.
19 to hit.
19 to hit. That strikes.
Nice.
Is the same one that you attacked earlier, or a different one?
Same one.
Okay.
Another 8 points.
Okay. What happens as you slaughter that one?
It's human-ish size, correct?
Yes, it is like person-sized.
Okay.
Like human person-sized.
I think since she's raging, she might just decapitate that one.
All right. Okay. That happens. So, she, this one of the eyeless is on her, trying to drag her into the woods. She fiercely kind of breaks away from that and just kind of comes back around with a sword to the one on the other side of her that she had previously struck, and just kind of like cleanly, right across the neck. Head falls to the ground, rolls across the clearing that you're in near the campfire. Body falls. It's bleeding on the ground. Now, everyone else. You are stirred from your slumber as you hear when, kind of at first it's distant off. You hear kind of like this scream out in pain, but you're not registering what it is. But it kind of like rouses you initially. And then shortly after that, you hear this, "Guys, wake up!" And you know that it's Wynn. And you wake up kind of like right about the moment that you see her decapitate one of the eyeless, And as that happens, the other ones just kind of like whoop and howl around her. There are 3 more kind of surrounding her. So, if I don't think you've rolled initiative yet, so if the 4 of you will give me an initiative order. So up top is the eyeless, followed by Wynn, and then we need to establish what order y'all are in.
14.
Would be a nat 20 for me.
What's the total? What's the total?
For me?
So 20 plus your dexterity modifier?
22.
22. Okay, I got a 17 myself. First time in like 3 episodes I haven't rolled a 1 in initiative.
Alright.
I got zeros, man.
What'd you get, Kristen?
10.
Okay. Alright. In that case, Shondell is next. Now, you are currently prone on the ground, not wearing your armor.
How far away are they?
They're really close. You all were probably sleeping by the fire. I assume that they've kind of like managed to get Wynn probably about 8 feet away from the fire. So you're within 10 feet of them.
Okay, I'm going to grab my. I'm gonna grab my 2 hand axes and start slashing.
Okay. Tell me what you roll.
21.
You say 21?
Yes.
That's a hit with the first one. Go ahead and give me an attack roll with the second one.
So that is 12.
12? Both of those strike, so give me your damage.
Okay, so what is... Can't count tonight. 9.
9. Okay. All right. It howls out in pain, but does not fall. All right. Sir Kay is next.
No armor. I'm not going to bother with the sword and shield. I just go straight for the great sword.
Okay.
Because this is how many nights now where we've been interrupted while sleeping by these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be very anime style. As I, like, basically just sort of fade out of shadows behind one of them and go for the head.
Okay. Give me an attack roll.
Black sword, dark brow, you know.
Yeah. It's plausible.
That's 18 hit.
18 will strike. Give me damage.
Gonna reroll that 2 for great weapon fighting. It is 16 points of damage.
16. All right. Tell me what happens as you slaughter that one.
I'm actually just gonna go like, really quiet. I'm not even gonna use any light up or anything like that. I'm just gonna see this massive greatsword blade come forward through its chest and then pull out, and it's gonna drop, and it's just gonna show Kay standing there, kind of shaking his head.
All right.
Yeah, puts the sword up on his shoulder and starts walking towards the next one.
All right. So you can tell that it's going towards Wynn again. This was the one that was attempting to drag her into the woods, and when you had kind of like broken away from this one, and you don't even notice Sir Kay come from the darkness behind, but all of a sudden you see kind of like this great sword blade burst through its chest, kind of like exploding its heart, and just kind of like arterial spray like all over you, and then Sir Kay pushes it off the blade. It falls to the ground, and you see Sir Kay standing in the darkness behind it. Wallace is next.
I'm gonna like Shawn Michael kick up from the floor, and I'm gonna cast Guiding Bolt at one of them. Just
okay, and that's an attack roll, correct?
Yeah, that's an attack roll.
Right.
So I'll just roll it now. So that is a 14.
14 strikes. Give me damage.
Okie dokie. 13 points of damage.
13. All right. And what happens as it dies?
I just basically kick up, and then I see one, and I'm kind of just like, and then you just see like this bolt come out of my finger, and it just like, it kind of turns into like almost like an arrow. It just like back of the head's like a gunshot. Okay.
All right. So you say your words, cast your spell, point your finger. This magical energy leaps out of you, arrow-like, and strikes it. Its body, lights up with this radiance, but that quickly fades as it just kind of drops over dead to the ground. Now, Toby, you've witnessed these things going on around you, and you've seen that Junie was fighting one. Every other one of the Eyeless has kind of like been felled by your compatriots, but the one that Junie is still fighting remains standing. What would Toby do?
He's gonna use Eldritch Blast.
Okay. All right.
Uh, 13.
13 strikes. Give me damage.
Ah, sweet. So 9 points of damage.
How does your Eldritch Blast take the final one out?
Woo! He goes a little behind the spooning branch, and then he's like, just like right over the branch, and just shoots it like right in the chest.
All right.
As maybe like leaping for Junie, and then just gets it like in the right angle.
All right. So yes, Junie had attacked this one earlier, and it was beginning to close the distance. About to bring a club down. You feared upon her head, and then you kind of like peeked out. Let this eldritch energy release, and it just kind of like force blasted it in the chest. And Junie, as it was kind of like leaping for you with its club, immediately kind of like this magical energy, goes past you, and just kind of like throws it back away from you. You've seen this before from Toby. Now, you all stand around your campsite, and there are 4 dead eyeless lying amongst you. You hear howls from the woods around you, but you see no more of them entering your camp.
I'm really, really getting fed up with these woods.
Yeah.
Got it.
Morning, everyone.
Oh, you can speak now. Lovely.
Yeah. You feeling better now?
What do you mean? What are you on about? I'm fine.
You weren't last
Sure.
night.
Yeah. Take it. We're skipping breakfast then. We should probably get out of here.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So you leave the eyeless where they fell?
Yeah.
Cut off their heads first, whichever ones are remaining, and then leave them, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm totally down for that.
All right. So there are 3 that still
Wow.
have...
Can I, Wallace? You make her spooning stick?
That thing, no. It's alright. It was like a one night thing, like I don't like to.
Gives a whole different meaning to one word.
I don't want to catch feelings, man.
I respect game.
Yeah. Play a hit again.
What was Toby when he was younger? God.
Just kidding. You wouldn't say that.
Before
No, I think he totally should have.
I respect it.
Toby is
it's
just
gonna
built
take
on.
one of those.
Yeah, I almost feel compelled to do a piece of artwork with Wallace and his spooning stick. It's,
Yes.
yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. Anyway, as Sir Kay...
Before we leave, Wynn is gonna take one of the clubs.
Gonna take one of the clubs? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Is that just a normal club?
It's a pretty gnarly looking club. You can tell that it's made, just kind of like from, debris that they found, a sizable debris that they found within the woods. But it's kind of like, it's wrapped in kind of like some animal hide here and there, and then there are just kind of like these bits of bone shard that are just kind of like worked into the wood. Some of it looks like teeth as well, and you're looking at it, and it's whatever this bone came from is, fairly sturdy, so they laid into you, and none of it's broken away or, lodged in your flesh or anything. So anyway, it's
Okay.
pretty gnarly looking implement that they were using.
Club or great club stats?
It is, it has separate stats, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and give those to you. It will do 1d4 bludgeoning damage, and that will include your strength modifier to it. So 1d4 modified by your
Plus
strength.
Okay.
And then in addition to that, it will do another 1d4 piercing damage. So basically 2d4 plus your strength bonus.
Okay.
That's not bad at all.
Now, Sir Kay, as you're going to decapitate these things, one of which has already been decapitated by Wynn, you're looking at them, and you've got a much better look than you've been able to spy until now. As previously, bodies were kind of like dragged away by others. But you can tell now, because I think you had all had, surprised that these might be undead or, whatever. You can tell, the one that was decapitated is, there's very much warm blood that's spilling upon the ground, And as you're looking at these things, I mean, they look like something that once was human, but its form has been twisted, not quite beyond recognition. But again, their flesh is just kind of like swollen and purplish gray, and you're kind of like looking at the faces as you're decapitating them, and again, they appear to be eyeless, but you can see that there are sockets there. It's just this flesh has kind of like grown over the eyes. And as I've explained before, everything else is the same. The hair you're seeing now is, kind of missing in patches here and there, and just kind of like stringy and matted, in the places where it grows. They have an overabundance of body hair on them. And again, there's just, kind of like their gums as you're looking at them, rotten teeth in their mouths, swollen, purplish gums that are just kind of like bleeding, And again, these look like some kind of remnants of humanity somewhere once long ago, but they've been twisted by something. So
Interesting.
But you can tell they bleed, they die.
Okay.
All right.
Mildly disgusted, and I still take the heads off anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe punt one out into the woods for good measure.
All right. If you do that, I'm sure.
And I'm not talking like leave it on the ground. I'm talking like pick one full on soccer punt.
Yeah.
Because I'm just.
And
pissed off at this point.
as you do that, from the surrounding woods, you will hear kind of like whoops and howls and wells, But again, nothing else approaches your campsite.
Okay, are we ready to leave now?
The woods? Yes.
So,
I was ready to leave 3 days ago.
Alright, let's go then. Because this place is creeping me out as usual.
yeah.
Okay.
I should have stayed in Black Sands. Start walking.
All right. You'll continue on through the woods. Day will break. It's dawn. You've kind of been vigilant looking around you, but you can't spy anything following you in the woods, nor do you hear any more whoops or howls or wails or anything like that coming from the surrounding area. And you follow on down this path, and you'll continue to walk it for a while. You're not sure if it's an hour, but if it is, it's not much more than that. And then, kind of up off the trail to the left, you see this tower in the distance.
Oh yeah, I forgot that's what we were doing.
That's permanent.
All right, probably half a mile down the road.
Guys,
We see any of the stars that I mentioned, despite the daylight?
No, it's daylight.
Is it just like an open clearing in this huge tower?
It's kind of hard to tell from where you are right now because, like I said, you see it from about a mile away. You're kind of an elevated surface right now, and you're going down, but a lot of it is blocked by trees. You can just kind of like from where you are, you can see a bit of the tower poking above the tree line.
Okay.
So
So I wanted to give you a heads up that you're about half a mile away, just in case you wanted to do anything in particular.
So now we're coming up to this tower that is already giving me the heebie-jeebies. How do we want to approach this tower? We have to
Let's burn it.
Oh, jeez.
Can we do any kind of recon? Anyone got aerial views?
Oh, you can turn into a hawk or something, man. Like, you can
I can talk.
I don't think she can fly yet.
No.
Game mechanics wise, druids can't fly till higher levels.
While you're standing here, Lewis, give me an intelligence roll for Wallace.
An intelligence roll or saving?
An intelligence roll, not a saving throw.
9.
9? Okay. Alright.
I can climb the tree to see if I can see anything, but that's about as good as...
Any alternate ways in would be useful, because I assume walking in through the front door would be a really bad idea.
Could try and sneak up closer as a wolf. We have seen wolves in the woods.
True. True. RJ, a question.
Okay.
Would Wynn have ever seen a gecko this far north?
I don't know that Wynn would have seen a gecko.
No, but I had to ask.
Yeah.
Funny flying.
Cranium rats.
She's definitely seen cranium rats.
I mean, I don't know if you're thinking of something small.
Why don't you turn into a flea or something? Because nobody will see you.
I was thinking of something that could scale the walls.
Travel up there that fast.
Yeah.
I only have an hour in my way.
No,
You can't fly. Never mind. Okay.
No, I have no swim and no fly speed yet.
Dang it.
Alright, so are we going...
I mean, get a bit closer and then we can try the wolf scouter.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, let's see what happens as we get closer.
Alright, so you close in, and you're about a quarter mile away. You get closer. Nothing's happening in terms of, nothing's jumping out to get you or anything like that, is what I mean to say. But you will see it. It's not kind of like within an open clearing. You can tell that kind of like these trees are sort of grown up around it, almost as if, it was, once built here, and the forest is kind of like grown up around it. You can tell from where you are, the stone is, it's ancient compared to most structures that you see, It has been weathered, it's old, and again, you can kind of tell that as you get much closer to it.
Yeah, this isn't creepy at all. This looks like it's gonna be just a bundle of joy.
At this point, this is damn near normal for these boots.
All right, so
that's what scares me. That's what worries me.
What are you gonna do?
Is there a front door?
Oh, are we getting that close, or were you going to send in a scout, or what's? Because you're still a bit of a distance away.
Do we want to waste a wild shape on this? Is the question.
I could disguise myself as an Iris.
That's up to a win.
I think it should be saved. Personally.
I have 2 wild shapes per long rest, and I've only used 1 total in the game.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
How infrequently I've used it. Would it feel like wasting it?
Okay. If you're down to go wolf and just kind of sprint around for a couple minutes and see what's up, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Alright.
I will wild shape into a wolf, and go take a look around.
Okay. As the wolf is moving, are you trying to be stealthy, or what are you doing?
Sorry, am I trying to...
Be stealthy, or are you just trying to run around quickly to see what you see?
I will... stealthily.
Move stealthily? Okay, give me a stealth roll.
Classic game of out rolls. Cart them off. Cut them off.
No, I don't think wolf special stealth, do they?
Could I see before she goes? Could I give her the trickster so she has advantage? I think on it.
Okay. You can use your ability to do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna channel divinity. Hold on, let me see how it works. Yeah, blessings of the trickster. So, I just kind of and give her a wee scratch behind the ears, and she now has advantage on stealth checks for 1 hour.
Okay. All right. So give me your stealth roll with advantage.
Nice.
Alright, text 2. Yeah, so plus 4 to stealth as a wolf. So that's a 19.
19. Okay. All right. So you guys are about 1/8 of a mile away or so, and you decide to use your wild shape to transform into a wolf, and you all observe her, do that. What's your transformation look like? By the way, we've not discussed that before.
Twilight or Harry Potter?
Oh, jeez.
I think maybe some sort of cloudy green light covers me as I into a wolf, and all my equipment merges with my form.
Okay. All right. So you all observe this light surround her, and then, it kind of fades from her, and she's a wolf. You trot off towards the tower. Now, once you get closer to it, you enter an area, and it is daylight. It is morning. It's not even noon. But as you get within a few hundred feet of the tower, you enter an area, and then once it's kind of like a veil that you pass, and as you do that, you exit from where you were into this area of darkness, of night. You look around you, look up, you see stars in the sky above. Give me a nature roll. 14. As you look at the stars above you, these are alien constellations that you don't recognize. You've spent some time looking at the stars before, and these aren't in any kind of configurations that you've ever seen. As you're looking, kind of shooting star streaks across the sky. Whoa.
That makes me a little nervous, but I continue searching.
Okay. All right, so you continue searching around. Again, you're in darkness. It's almost as if it's kind of like a new moon phase right now. You see no light from a moon or anything like that, so it's fairly dark. But I'm assuming a wolf has dark vision, right? So you're looking around. Once again, this old tower is kind of like surrounded by trees, and not even surrounded by trees, but trees are kind of like growing right up against it. Like, no one would have built this tower this way. You can only assume that the tower had been kind of left here, and these trees have just kind of been planted by the birds or whatever, and kind of grown up around it, Some of them or at least one of them is kind of like growing into the side of the tower as well. The stone is old, been weathered by time. You kind of look at it. It goes up for several floors. You would guess, 5, 6, possibly 7, depending on how it's built on the inside. There are arrow slits built into the wall. You see kind of like bird's nest that have been made, within the surfaces of the stone around the tower, just kind of like jutting out, and they're kind of like these bird droppings just all down the sides of the tower as well. You can, smell that as a wolf, and additionally. Now, I don't think Wynn would pick up on that. Are you proficient in history?
I am not.
Not? Okay. All right. So, there's kind of like a boulder against one side of the tower, and then on the other side, there is this kind of antechamber that's made, of wood, and the wood is kind of like rotting, but it remains there. There's a door to the antechamber as well. You're looking around, you see, other than the birds that have made nests against the stone, you see no sign of life.
Okay. Alright, once I've made my way around and seen what I figure I can see in this quick scout, I'll head back.
Okay. All right. You've seen about all that you think you can see. So you head back.
Yep.
Everyone else, you're remaining there. Nothing's happened in the meantime to alarm you or disturb you or anything like that. But a wolf does come, running back towards you. When you get to the party, what do you do, Wynn?
I'll shift back and tell them what I've seen.
All right. So she relays that information. Now I'm assuming you transform back into yourself, right? You have to do that.
Yeah, I shift back and tell them.
Okay. So she tells you the things that I described to her about the tower, and also about the fact that you kind of like, it's almost like you breach this membrane and you go from being in daylight to being in kind of like the darkness of a new moon with a sky that has alien constellations.
Judy's just gonna start kind of pacing, trying to not be overcome with hysteria, and just kind of like essentially muttering to herself, just pretty much incoherent. She doesn't even really know what she's saying other than like calm down. And then she's just gonna turn to the group and be like, can somebody please explain to me why we're doing this again? Why is this necessary? Why are we here? Can we not just go home? Please, can we just go home? And she just like starts freaking out.
Judy, mellow after me. Mellow.
That's not for somebody who practically went insane last night, so don't tell me to calm down. Do not tell me to calm down.
No. We are in this situation because there are a lot of innocent people depending on us, and we've all been through our fair share of rough stuff. You're not going to die. We've all got each other's backs. We're going to be sound.
I'm just getting so tired of this. I just want it to stop.
I know, but your home's already been attacked. If we just go home without doing anything, it'll likely happen again.
Think of all the people in the Leading Star. Think of all the people that have already lost their lives leading us up to this point. Think of everything that we've. Think of Fel. Think of everything. This is. We can't stop now. We're in too deep.
Jesus, okay. I just need a minute. Just give me a minute. Okay. And she's gonna kind of like turn her back and just like take a couple deep breaths, and then turn around and be like, okay.
At this point, you see Kay kind of has his greatsword out, but he's got it like across his shoulders that he's got his arms over it. And he just kind of turns to her and he says, "Thanks. Straight out fight for knives might actually be fun compared to everything else that's been going on."
Fun.
You can see, like, he's got a cracked little smile on his face, like he's actually raring to go for a straight out fight. Kind of the same look he had when fighting Pig.
Think of it like this: there will be no cats in this tower.
That's
You'll be fine.
Well, I mean, you can't 100% promise that because you haven't been in there, so there could be a cat. But and you can see like trying to fight back tears and be like, I'm gonna be.
There
okay.
were birds nesting in the tower, and I don't think help cats.
Exactly.
All
No
right.
cats. We're good.
Okay. Alright. I will be okay. I promise. I will have facts. I will give 100%. Let's do this. So you know, it'll be okay.
Put the
Yeah.
greatsword away, pull out the locks, and she is going to say, "Right.
Yeah.
Who wants to knock?" And start walking.
Okay. All right. So, you all agree to go to the tower together?
Yeah.
This is such a terrible idea, and I love every second of it. Let's do this.
It is.
If we're gonna die, we're gonna go out in style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's SWAT team this front door. No big deal. Let's do it.
Can we just like Sparta kick it in? Is that a thing? I don't know.
It is a thing.
I wanna-
You could do that.
I want to do that at some point in this game.
All right.
Some Sparta
I mean,
something.
You just let me know when you're ready.
It's Mournton. Bang.
You had the perfect opportunity to do that to Wallace in the grave last night.
I
Literally did.
considered it. I considered doing it. I'm like, no, it's not fun. That's too much.
All right.
That was the
So
last.
we
First
are
and only
we are
chance.
within our last hour of play for tonight. So let's rein it in a little bit. And you all have decided to go to the tower, is my understanding. So you all will approach it, and kind of like as I've described to you already, and described via Win, there comes a point where it's just kind of like almost like you cross this membrane. You have a strange feeling as you do it, but it's not like a physical feeling, like a force against your body or anything like that. But it's almost as if something, kind of in you, just kind of goes awry a bit. As you cross from what is just, the morning light into an area that is, once again, kind of like the darkness of a new moon. The skies are very bright and vibrant. There's no other light source here that you can see, none coming from within the tower. And as I've already described, to Win, I'm sure that once you get inside, you look up to take a glimpse at the sky that she's described as being alien or strange or queer or whatever it is she called it.
I'm
in her
in
words.
history. She made a check, didn't she?
Give me just a second. So the first thing she noticed as you come in, regardless of whether or not you're proficient in nature, you've seen the night sky before, and probably a few of you definitely recognize that these constellations are bizarre and unusual, and you've never seen them before. So perhaps not all of you know that, but some of you do at least. Now, as you're here, both Chandel and Lewis, give me history checks for your characters. If anyone else is proficient in history, you may roll as well.
Don't look at me.
Unnatural 20.
Okay.
3.
3. Okay. So, Lewis, Wallace is in here, and, you begin looking at the tower. Wynn had already described a few things to you about the tower. And as you're looking at it and thinking about some of the things that you've known so far, you're thinking about when you were kind of like talking with Hazel, and she had mentioned, about Earl Roggenwalder, and you were kind of like recalling some historical facts, I think, about him, or it was something last session. But you begin studying the tower, and as you look at it, it reminds you of something that you had seen in a book or scroll or something like that before on the Root Imperium. It appears to be kind of architecture that seems to date back to this ancient empire that had once, crossed these lands. So.
Okay.
And that's it. You recognize it as being this kind of ancient architecture.
I'd probably mention that to them. Architecture like this dates back to the Root Imperium. This is very interesting.
Alright then. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Definitely fascinating, but I don't see how the fact that it's ancient architecture helps us with whatever it is that we have to do here. So let's just keep going. Please.
I'm going to cast Thaumaturgy and meow.
Why would you do that? That's so mean.
Okay, alright, so you cast Thaumaturgy, and you have like this cat's mew. Junie will hear that.
She gonna punch you. Is she gonna punch you hard?
Alright. So I'm assuming she makes that threat to you. Now, you're around the tower. What do you wish to do?
I'm just looking for a door.
Alright.
Lynn is going to cast Cure Wounds on herself.
Okay, alright. Subtract your spell slot and then roll to see how much you recover. Now.
I'm going to use a second level slot.
Alright, so she begins casting these healing words that you've heard before. You can tell now looking at her that she is injured, presumably from the fight with the Eyelifts earlier. You may have overlooked that. So as she's doing that, Eric Cirque is looking for a door, and much like I described with Wynn earlier, there is kind of like this antechamber made out of wood that is attached to the tower, and it's old looking, but there is a door on it.
I don't know if you explained it or not, but are there like windows going up the tower?
There are arrow slits, but not like full-sized windows.
Okay.
I'm just keeping my shield ready.
Yeah.
Have a long sword out.
Yeah. Junie's got her bow and arrow drawn.
Lynn will have her shield and Hefton his club.
Alright, give me basically a marching order. And I don't want to make your characters do anything, so be very specific in telling me what you do. So let's establish a marching order right now.
I'm first and left out.
I'll go second.
Okay.
I guess I'll go third, safest in the middle.
Alright.
I'll take the rear and I'll have Toby in front of me.
Okay.
He's
All right.
gonna cast Mage Armor as well.
All right. So Toby, subtract your spell slot. Cast Mage Armor on yourself.
I can do that as
Oh, Armor of Shadows. Nice.
I didn't hear what you said, Kristen. Sorry.
I can cast it without
Oh.
using a spell slot.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, you cast it upon yourself then. So, Eric, tell me what you're doing.
I walk up and I knock.
All right.
Look, I'm dead serious. I just walk up and I knock.
All right. You begin approaching. All right. As you do that, from the top of the tower, you hear kind of like this. And then when it does, you see kind of like this streak across the sky. Not across the sky, but from the top of the tower. And you are hit in the chest by 7 objects, just kind of like in rapid succession. And you sustain 22 points of damage.
Oh, okay.
Now, Lewis, your passive perception is up to an 18 now. And kind of like there's nothing you can do about it, but you see kind of like in the structure, kind of like at the top of the tower, you see a figure kind of like just kind of cloaked in darkness up there. But you see kind of like this bright streak, kind of like leap from kind of like the center mass of the figure, and just kind of like strikes Sir Kay. And being that he was not expecting it, and being the amount of damage it was, I'm sure it probably knocks him back. Possibly floors him or takes him to a knee, or something like that.
Yep. You just hear Kay start laughing maniacally again. I'm just going to stand up and kind of teeter back on my heels and look up and just say, "It's quite a rude way to treat guests, you..." And I'm going to throw out a couple of expletives. I won't say on screen.
All right.
Don't know what I'm gonna do.
Hey, what's your look?
What was that,
I'm
Kristen?
casting.
Said, hey, what's your problem?
It doesn't-
mirror image of myself.
Okay. All right. So y'all stand down there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How close was I to the main door before I got hit? Because I didn't make it to the doors, correct?
You didn't make it to the door. You got probably about 10 feet away from it.
Nothing.
All right.
Okay.
Now,
Can we just Eldritch blast this tower?
I'm gonna spend a decade here, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Does Wynn see?
pause for just a second. As you all are kind of standing there, Wallace begins, casting a spell. Toby, you kind of look up towards the top of the tower, and you see this figure, just kind of in the darkness up there. You can't really make out much about it at all, but you're just kind of hey, what's your problem? And that is answered by kind of this other streak, just as you take as you are hit kind of rapid succession with just kind of seven objects, and you sustain 20 points of damage.
I do?
Yes, Toby.
Okay. How far away is this thing?
The tower above you is about 70 feet up.
And I'm assuming
Alright.
it's on the top floor.
Yeah, it's kind of on the roof of the tower.
It's on the roof of the
When-
tower.
Wynn looks up. She sees the figure.
Wynn looks up what?
Does she see the figure?
She sees the figure as well. And again, you might not have caught it the first time, but the second time you definitely saw this kind of streak of, magical energy leap from the top of the
Okay.
tower from the figure.
I would like to cast Moonbeam.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
that's
Oh,
brutal.
yeah.
Tell me about that.
A silvery beam of pale light shines down in a 5-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder centered on the point, which is going to be that figure.
Okay.
The bell fills the cylinder. When a creature enters the spell's area for the first time on a turn, or starts its turn there, it is engulfed in ghostly flames that cause searing pain, and it must make a DC 12 Constitution.
All right, so you kind of cut out on me a little bit. I heard when it starts its turn, it's gonna make it's engulfed in searing pain, and then it's gonna make a what?
It must make a DC 12 Constitution saving throw.
Okay, all right. Got that. Okay, at this point, let's say we've entered initiative. It took its turn when cast Moonbeam. Now, if everyone else wants to roll for an initiative order.
30.
Same.
5.
Okay, so... Sorry. I got the 6. Back where I belong.
All right. So, Lewis and Kristen, which one of you is going to go first?
I assume Wallace.
I think I've got higher decks.
All right. So what's Wallace going to do? You see when cast, just kind of like this moonbeam, descends upon the top of the tower, kind of like centered around the figure that's up there.
See.
Shouldn't it make the saving throw that's entered
When
this
it-
area for the first time?
When it starts its turn there.
It's either or. So when the spell's cast, it takes it as well, I think.
Okay, all right.
So, what happens if it fails it?
If it fails, it's half as much damage. Just in case it's a shape changer, it does the saving throw with disadvantage.
Disadvantage on that. Okay, so let me look at it.
ET werewolf laser, basically.
Okay, give me damage.
10 radiant damage.
10 radiant. Okay. All right. So Lewis, what's Wallace doing?
Would I be able to cast hold person on it, or is it like a monster?
Say that again.
Would I be able to cast hold person on it?
It's not a person.
Okay. Yeah. In that case, I'm just gonna cast Sacred Flame at it. So
Okay.
it's a DC 14. That's a deck save as well.
Okay. All right. It will make its saving throw.
Okay, it takes no damage then.
All right. Toby.
He's gonna try to bust down the door of the tower.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's gonna cast Eldritch Blast to try to blast down the door. And if successful, we'll just try to run into the tower.
All right. So Toby, you unleash your or Toby unleashes his Eldritch Blast, and not that he could have known it, but this door was basically rotting in its hinges. So you center the Eldritch Blast on it, virtually no chance of missing it, and just kind of like wood shards explode everywhere. Not only do you kind of like take out the door, but you take out part of the front structure of the antechamber, as well. So, all right.
Nice.
And then,
Yeah, and he's gonna run inside.
all right, you do that. Just very quickly as you run inside into this kind of antechamber sort of area, your wood shards, are kind of like scattered all about the floor. Otherwise, it looks like, just kind of quickly as you're in here, that the floor was covered in debris. Anyway, you see a set of stairs kind of like leading up to another door. So that's just very quickly what you see as you enter in there.
Okay.
All right. Now,
Cool.
who's that take us to next?
After Toby, it's actually me. So, I mean, Toby busts in the door. I'm just gonna follow them.
Okay, you follow in. You see exactly what I just described to Kristen. All right.
Actually, hold a moment. Before I get in the door, I have the Molotov cocktails that I made. Is it feasible to pitch one at the top of the tower? Because I didn't get your height on it. That's the only thing.
Yeah, it's about 70 feet away, so...
Oh, gosh.
You'd have to have a really good arm.
Yeah, I'm not sure what a good range on a Molotov cocktail is, but I'll let you make an attack, but at disadvantage.
I don't want to risk it dropping on my own head, though. That's the only thing.
Okay.
Just knowing my luck, it would.
Yeah.
So, instead I'm just going to charge on in. If I can reach the inner door, I'll bust that up if I can. If not, I'll just charge in and I'll heal myself.
Okay. Yeah, from where you are, you won't quite reach the inner door. Once you get inside, once you get inside, you're probably going to be about 10 feet away from the door,
Okay.
So
I'm just going to post up and I'm going to kind of like look at Toby and just prep for another Eldritch Blast SWAT entrance.
Okay. All right,
basically.
then.
And I'm going to give myself... What's a good number here? Yeah, I'll give myself 10 points lands. That hurt.
All right. So I think that takes us to Junie.
Yes. Okay, so I can... you know what, yeah, I'm just going to run in as well. And does the inside door look just as decrepit as the outside door?
As you get inside, you kind of like you take a moment to examine it, look at it. It is kind of like an iron banded door. It doesn't, it hasn't quite faced the elements like the outside of it has, so it looks a good bit sturdier than the outside door did.
Okay. What is there anything else worth looking at or looking for?
No, really, we've you could take some time to search this area, but given that you're under attack, I'm not sure that Junie would do that. You're just kind of like coming in immediately looking for your next exit out of this particular area. And again, there's one door, stairs leading up to it, about 10 feet away from where you are right now.
What about sound? Like, now that we're inside, can you hear whatever the thing is? Or is it still too high up? Or does it even make a sound?
You didn't hear much of a sound other than kind of like the magical energy that was unleashed and, struck across the sky from the top of the tower down.
Okay. Alright, well then I'm just gonna stand inside and wait till the next move to break down the door, I guess. Or attack to.
Okay. Alright. Wynn, you're still currently outside.
I am.
So what does Wynn do?
The finger is still there. I will cast Firebolt.
Okay. Give me a strike roll.
7.
7 misses.
Okay. And I will just duck inside the door so I am out of sight of the figure.
Okay. All right. So you do that. Now, I need to make a quick amendment, recalculating the movement on that. So you have time to, or you have enough movement to get inside the door. Everybody else who was in there, you could have made it over to the banded door, but you would have gone past your 30 feet of movement and not really had an action to do anything. But you could be standing up near the door if you wanted to be. So it's not 10 feet away like I had said, but you could actually be up there. So there's that. Now we'll go back up to the top of the round. you're not sure what's really happening with the figure that was on the roof, but it would next go to Wallace. I think it was Wallace. Oh, actually, hold on, Wallace, you were still outside, right?
Yeah, I'm still
That's
outside. I've got 4. You can just see like 4 duplicates of me.
That's interesting. I don't know how those two things would interact.
I'm trying to think that myself. So,
Yeah. I think that depends on how mirror image is ordered.
yeah, could someone...
I know there are...
So with that, like it hits the one mirror image, has to like
I need to roll a d20.
Yeah, I have
If you hit me, if you hit me, I roll a d20, and I need to roll for the first one. I need to roll a 6, and then I need to roll an 8, and then I need to roll an 11. And if I do that consecutively, then it doesn't. If it actually hit me, it just instantly destroys it as soon as it's touched, and I don't take any damage.
Okay, so it is usually an automatic hit. So,
Yeah, so...
It's got armor class 10 plus my dex, so I'll have an 18 of 12.
yeah, it's the actual spell is Magic Missile, though. So Magic Missile, you don't roll to strike. It's usually an automatic hit. So, like Eric was saying, it's, how does that interact? And Kristen, I know you were saying something, but you kind of cut out on me, so I didn't hear what you were saying. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I mean it's just what Lewis had said.
Uh-huh.
Like you roll to hit that target. So it has to be like that 6 or higher, and then it destroys it.
Okay.
I would... If I had to rule it, I'd say Lewis still rolls. The thing is, you can pick multiple targets for the magic missile, so it depends on how this particular creature would do it.
Uh-huh.
But, like, since you can pick a target per dart, I'd almost say he'd roll until he runs out of...
Yeah,
mirrors.
and how many duplicates did you say that you have?
I think it's 4. Let me double check. Yeah, 3 illusionary duplicates of yourself. So there'll be 4 of us, but one of them's me.
Okay, 4 of you. Okay, so yes, it has 7 projectiles. So all 4 of you will be struck. So
Okay. So should I roll for it, or is there a point? What should I roll for? I don't know. Is there a point?
This is a weird one. I've never...
Yeah.
Weird, like,
So
like, if it's gonna hit me anyway.
yeah. So what's going to happen is I think it's ultimately going to hit you, but it is going to minimize the damage that you take. So instead of taking the full 7 projectiles, you will only take a fraction of that. So
Yeah. So I'll take 4 of them.
Yeah, that's a good reduction, dude. If one dart hits each of the mirror images, you're still taking 4, which is pretty solid.
yeah. Well, and it would have allocated probably a couple to a few of the targets, and then just 1 to one of the targets. So, so anyway, I'll roll over here. 1. All right. So that would only be 10 points of damage.
50.
Mirror image couldn't work, man.
Okay, now that we've got that figured out, I just want to point out that the creature started its turn in Moonbeam.
Yeah, so you can give me some damage.
Okay.
That spell is the boss.
That is 6 damage.
6. Okay. All right, got it. All right. So anyway, Lewis. So Wallace, your mirror images were all struck by these things, and I assume they just kind of like they go away once they're damaged. Is that correct?
Pretty much, it just kind of like explodes. So it was just like
Yeah.
when it hits it. Like,
So that happens,
disappears.
and you're struck as well, and you sustain a little bit of damage, but you can tell just from the way it knocks you back, it's not nearly as much as anyone else did. And then you're there. What do you wish to do?
I'm gonna cast Guiding Bolt at him.
Guiding bolt. All right, give me a strike roll.
Natural 20.
All right, that hits. Give me damage.
So what is that double damage? That's 8d6 or d6.
Doubled.
So,
Power defense gain. There's nothing on the other side of the wall.
$28 points of damage.
All right.
How much?
28.
Oh wow. Okay. What I heard was the 8, but there was a number before that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And now he's glowing all pretty, so we can see him.
All right.
Well,
Sort of.
you can't because we're inside.
All right. Would Wallace?
Inside.
Okay, so Wallace goes inside. All right. Now, back up to the top, or back up to the next person. Kristen, what does Toby do?
He has to make his way to the top. So, sorry, did he have to go through a door and then up the stairs, or there was a stairwell?
So you
then-
blew open the front door to the antechamber, and it kind of like sent wood splintering into there. The floor was strewn with the debris. Across the room of the antechamber, there was some kind of like a short flight of stairs leading up to a banded wooden door. So it's just kind of like you climb the stairs, but they're not very high. It just goes up a little bit to this banded iron door.
Yeah, he's gonna go up the stairs and then just try to open the door.
Okay. All right. So give me a strength roll.
15.
15. All right. So it's kind of you can tell that it's bolted or something from the other side, but Toby leverages all his weight and size against it that he can muster, and whatever the bolt was on the other side snaps away from the old stone, and the door does swing open. All right.
Dun, 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 dun.
Now, it opens into another kind of room. This room is approximately, 15 feet by about 25 feet. And as you kind of quickly look inside there's this broken table. There are like all of these remnants of just kind of like debris strewn about on the floor. You can just kind of quickly tell that it appears that someone has made fires in this particular room. There are black spots on the floor, which is strange because as you look out across the other side of the room, you see kind of like these, these dual fireplaces within the room, and there are 2 doors that are leading out, one on each side of the room. They're both on the same wall. And also within here is a set of stairs that's kind of spiraling up. So doors leading out, stairs spiraling up.
Okay.
In addition to that, you'll kind of like make note of kind of like some graffiti scrawled on the wall, and it just says basically the equivalent of weak floors above.
That seems awesome.
Should we maybe go outside?
No, we really prefer not to.
Nothing. I'm just assuming I use my full movement to go up those stairs, or...
No, you basically... I corrected from the previous thing that I told you, and told you that you could have made your way to the stairs if you had wanted to. So
Yeah, so I went up that staircase and then into the room.
yes, if you wanted to.
Right. Yeah, so I went up into that room
Yes.
without my full movement, just 10 feet.
So going into the room, if you had made your way over to the door on your previous turn, like I told you could have done, then you could make it to one of the two doors within the room, or you could go over to the stairs. You have plenty of movement to get to either one of those things within the second room if you wanted to.
Okay, because I just wanted to keep on going up the stairwell.
Okay, so you are heading up the stairwell. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll take as much as your movement as you can going up the stairwell. Who was next? Was it Sir Kay?
Yes, and I'm just gonna follow suit. I'm going up the stairs with Toby.
All right. Then
Toby shall have fun.
that'll take us to Junie.
What did the message say again? The graffiti message? Something about the stairs? Be wary of the stairs or something?
Weak floors above,
Weak
and then it's
floors?
like arrow pointing up.
It's great for the guy in heavy armor.
Standing there, weighing my options. Is it possible for Junie to go back outside and potentially climb up the tower? Is that a wise move?
No.
Why wouldn't it be? 'Cause,
Wise move, no. Smart move, yes.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if I kind of do like a spiral up in the Junie, wood elf or half wood elf, she could climb, obviously. So I'm thinking like instead of risking all of us falling through the floors, maybe she could just climb up the tower.
Just Assassin's Creed.
I don't know if that would be smart, like a good move though.
I mean, it's up to you.
If
You know
you're
that-
50 feet in the air and get nailed.
You kind of almost all of that.
Oh. If you get like 50 feet up in the air in a tower and get hit with a map, would be very ideal for Jane.
And just That's why I was asking if there were like windows, because that way she can climb up and then just like go in through the window.
Yeah.
But
Again, it's just arrow slits. Just kind of
which
like.
is not something she's gonna be able to fit through.
The arrow slip to climb, no.
That's what I'm thinking. Like maybe I should climb.
There's trees right up beside the tower. That'll get her part way up at least.
You know what?
That'll be cool.
I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna try to go back out and climb, but I'm gonna do it on the opposite side of whatever this is.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So you take your full movement outside, dash around the other side that you know that the figure wasn't on, and you kind of like you start making your way towards a tree so you can try to climb up the tree. Is that what's going on?
Well, I was hoping just to climb right up the tower.
Oh, just right up the tower. Okay.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and get started on that. So let's just see. Should we go is that acrobatics or athletics? Climbing up.
Athletics, I'd
Athletics,
say.
right?
Athletics.
Yeah. So athletics roll.
Okay. That is a 9.
A 9. Okay.
Yes.
All right. You're having a bit of a problem trying to get up. Okay. So that's. Let's see. Does that take us to? Did I skip win this turn?
Actually, I think you might have. Yeah, I think you might have.
Yeah. So win. What would you like to do? You should have gone earlier, but.
I will pop back outside. Is the figure still in the moonbeam?
All right. If you walk back outside and look, you will definitely not see it standing within the moonbeam.
Okay. Can I see the figure?
Not now. No.
All right. It's
So, did you say something?
How big around is the tower?
How big around is the tower?
Yeah.
It's a really stupid idea.
I've had hundreds of them in the night.
Well, I've specifically had two, and neither of them are particularly good stupid ideas. One of them involves suplexing to the floor.
All right.
So I
So-
was thinking of like weekends to go up at the tower or something.
As far as the surface within there, it's like over 1,000 square feet or so, you know. So it's not like a huge tower or anything.
Sorry, it's how big?
Over like 1,000 square feet.
Okay, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not huge.
Okay. Oh no. I'll head back into the tower and start heading up the stairs.
All right. So y'all will do that. We'll kind of go back. Wallace, you're acting. No, you head back in when that was your turn. But let's correct the initiative order. You should have been up at the top, I believe. So go ahead and take your next action. You would have been going up the stairs. You can continue going up the stairs.
I will do that.
Okay.
I'll continue upstairs.
All right, so you continue going upstairs, and essentially you'll kind of like exit, onto a landing where there's kind of like you're kind of glancing quickly around in there, and it's about this area that you're in right now is about 25 feet by 25 feet. And as you're looking around, you see kind of like a collapsed wall within there. You see kind of like branches growing through from like one of the trees outside. I told you it was kind of like bursting into the building. Well, you see those branches coming in. You can see out into the night sky beyond. There is kind of like a support pillar in the middle. In here, there are some tables. This appears to be kind of like a hall type area, but again, this is very old. These tables are, kind of like rotting and moldering where they are, things like that. And then the stairs continue going up. As you come into this particular area, you do not see anything that appears to be a threat or anything like that within here. So you would kind of like take your full movement getting up here, and then you can probably start making your way towards the stairs, around there. If you want to, or you could stay here. It's up to you.
No, I'll continue heading up.
Okay. And pretty much everybody else, if you're taking your full movement, you'll kind of get sort of like the same kind of thing going on here. You'll wind up the stairs, and get into this area and see some other stairs that you can kind of begin trailing when up. Does anybody else want to do anything as you're ascending, or just continue to take your full movement?
I'm just gonna boost up the stairs, like.
Okay. All right. You'll do that. And then from there, you'll come into an area. When I'm talking to you, because we're kind of like back towards your turn. Yes. And you enter the stairs into a room. And as you do that, you see a figure within the corner of the room, and now you are close enough to kind of tell what you're looking at. And it is in kind of like the corner of the room, what would be darkness if not for your dark vision. There is no light source in here at all, and there was not very much light from outside. But kind of what you see as you're standing, not quite face to face with it, but across the room from it, is a figure that bears some semblance to a person. 2 arms, as far as you can tell, 2 legs. But the limbs are spindly, almost. It's taller than you'd expect a human to be. But those aren't the things that really grab your attention at first. It's this inhuman visage that's staring at you. The flesh is kind of like purple and swollen and bulbous around the head. There are these kind of alien eyes, these red alien eyes, sort of like deep set in there. It doesn't look like the eyes of a man or a woman or anything like that. You don't see a nose. there are these things drifting past what should be the mouth. And as you begin to study them, you see that they move independently apart from the face. And as you're staring at it, they just kind of like stretch out towards you. You've never seen anything like this before. And as you enter this area, it kind of raises up its hand towards you. And I need you to make an intelligence saving throw.
Oh, goodness.
15.
15, okay. Alright, it raises up its hands towards you. And you see kind of like this energy appears to emanate from its kind of like forehead. It's channeled through its hand. And this blast just kind of like comes and strikes you directly in the center of your forehead. And you're just kind of like, racked with pain. You take 11 points of damage. And you're briefly stunned, but you kind of like regain your footing from that. And it's your turn. You could act, you could do something.
Okay. I am able to move the moonbeam 60 feet. Would I be able to move it down and through to focus on that?
I assume
figure?
that's a concentration spell, is that correct?
Oh, yes, it is.
So first let's resolve your concentration. So give me a concentration roll.
Constitution saving throw,
Constitution, yes.
correct?
5, okay. Alright, you're hit and injured, and you remember this spell that you had cast outside, and you're trying to bring it in, but you can't. Yeah. So there's that. Now,
Okay. That the action then trying to move it.
yeah. Well,
Or
I think you realize that. I think you realize that you probably lost your concentration on it. So you would probably go to your next most logical course of action, whatever that is to win right now.
in that case, I will reach. How far away is the figure? Oh, can I reach it?
So you had used some movement to get here. You're kind of like you're at the point of if you want to attack it, you need to use a ranged weapon, ranged ability, thing like that. You can't move close enough to attack it with a sword or anything.
Okay.
Will she still have advantage on it from Guiding Bolt?
Yeah, for Guiding Bolt, it's the next attack against her.
Okay.
Okay.
So you do notice it's kind of like shimmering with radiant energy in the darkness. I forgot about that. So
I'll reach as a bonus action and just move as close as I can.
okay. All right. So you get as close as you can, which again, like I said, wouldn't be enough to hit. Strike it physically with a sword or anything.
Okay. And that will be my turn.
Okay. All right. Next person.
Next up,
Wallace.
Wallace.
Kind of the same thing. You managed to get into this room. You see exactly what I have described to Jess. Only when you enter, you see that she's struck with some kind of bolt of energy that emanates from this figure. She's damaged, but She continues to try to make her way closer to it, but she can't quite get close enough to strike it. She just kind of like stands there and screams in this sort of impotent rage, not being able to fulfill a strike, against it.
So I am gonna cast Guiding Bolt again.
All right, give me a strike roll.
Advantage. Okay, so the first one's 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm gonna roll again to see if I can. Yeah, so 90, so it's like 23 or something.
Okay, give me damage.
And that is 12, 14, 17 points of damage.
Okay. All right. Toby.
We made our way up to the top, or
Yeah, you make your way in there to see kind of like exactly the things that ascribe to Wen, and then as you come in, you see Wallace does a guiding bolt against it. His sort of radiant energy streaks across the room, finds purchase within the figure. It is enshrined in kind of like this, or enshrouded in this kind of radiant energy. You can't get close enough for a physical strike, but you could strike from a distance.
Right. Just making sure that we're all up there. He's gonna try something, see if it works. And cast Chill Touch. So he's gonna do an attack. Oh man!
So with Chill Touch, is that going to require a physical touch?
No, so it's 120 feet.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, but I didn't end it. I was gonna see if it worked, if I did, but it didn't do anything. So for a bonus action, he is gonna cast Hex, and that is a 90-foot range to it, and let's see. Place a curse on a creature, see within range. Until the spell ends, you deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage to a target whenever you hit it with an attack.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's just gonna place that. It lasts 1 hour. Concentration.
Okay. All right then.
Yeah.
So you do that. With your hex, there was a saving throw on. Is that correct, or is it no saving throw?
No, it doesn't say saving throw.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I think we're up to Sir Kay. Is that right?
Yeah. Once I get in there, I know I'm not gonna have enough movement to reach him, so I'm just gonna move as far as I can with my normal movement. And can I? So I've got Fairy Fire as a ritual spell. Can I cast that because it's a 20-foot cube centered on an area? Is there a way I can cast it where it won't affect Wynn, who's closest at this point?
You said you have it as a ritual spell?
A ritual spell.
Oh, racial spell. Okay.
Yeah.
Now tell me what was the area or whatever that you're casting it in?
It's a 20-foot cube.
20-foot cube. Okay.
I just want to see if I can make it where we're not affected.
You would, yeah. This is a smaller room. I think everybody's charged as close as they can, so you would hit everybody who's come in there to get,
Okay, well everybody's making dex saves because this is a real good spell.
Okay.
Interactive, but part of the hex is to choose an ability that the creature has, and they have disadvantage on that ability check.
Right.
Right.
So which ability would you have chosen?
Can I choose dexterity?
You could, but with Hex, that is just the ability check, not a saving throw, though. So it wouldn't affect it for the Fairy Fire or any spells. Yeah. But you could choose Dex.
I mean, I was thinking before you said that, so with dexterity.
Dex would be fine. So there's that. What does it do now, Eric?
So everybody make the Dex save against 13.
Okay, I'm outside scaling the tower, so
except you, because
okay.
Yeah.
that's walls.
I got 13, so would that save?
Me.
9.
I got a 19.
I failed that save. So everyone who makes it is fine. Nothing happens. Everyone who fails is outlined in light. We can't become invisible, and attacks have advantage against us until my concentration ends.
Awesome.
But if it fails, we also have advantage on all our attacks against it until my concentration fails. So
Yes. Well,
it's a fair trade.
it is not enshrouded in fairy fire right now. So
Well, that's fine. I can drop it next turn. It's cool.
yes. Okay.
So that's my action. I use my
Lord
movement.
boy.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. So Junie, go ahead and give me another athletics check. In fact, I think 2. I think I've skipped you maybe twice, possibly, because you were outside. I forgot about you. Did I?
Yeah, we've done 2 rounds of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
okay. I wasn't sure. So 2 athletics check?
2 athletics checks.
Okay. That one is horrible. That's a 6. That one fell. Hang on. That is a 15.
So you got a 6 and a 15. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I don't want you to be taken out of this, but you're trying to get up the wall. It's your first roll was pretty bad. Your second roll was pretty bad. You're kind of having a hard time, kind of like shimmying up. It's the surface that you're climbing on. Even though you're using the tree and stuff like that, it is just it's old. It's breaking away. Things like that.
What above me can I see? Like in terms of the tower, like. Are the arrow slits all the way around? Is there any kind of opening up there? Like, what's up there?
You get to an area where, like, you're climbing and it's just not going as fast as you think it should, and you see that you're grabbing in a particular area, and you tell that the stone is pretty loose, So you could give me a strength check, try to break in through the wall, essentially.
Like Kool-Aid person.
Like Kool-Aid Man right into the tower.
If I fail it, I'll just climb back down and go up. Go up the stairs. Jeez.
You're just gonna climb back down?
No, I'm gonna try the strength check.
Okay.
And then if I fail it, then I'll, yeah.
All right.
Oh God, yeah, I failed it.
Okay, you failed it. All right then.
I
So
start climbing back down.
you all right? So you start doing that. It was kind of an area of loose stone. You start trying to press your foot in, to kind of work it away from the arrow slit, and you can't get enough. It wasn't as weak as you thought it was be. So you start heading back down. Now, back up to the top of the round, I believe. So
it's Blue Man Group's turn.
yeah. Purple Man, but
Fine. It's fine.
yeah.
Indigo.
All right. So okay. Give me an intelligence save.
Is this against a charm effect?
It is against a charm effect.
Okay, advantage. Thank you, half elf. First roll is a natural 20. Second roll is a 19.
Okay. All right. You have that kind of similar sort of sound within your head that you've heard before. Ordering you to do the same thing that you were ordered. Once before. Destroy them. Cuts through these kind of whispers and the static. Within your mind. But you are able to shrug it off this time. You've experienced this before.
I just kind of twitch and I'm just like, no, thank you. And I'm just kind of still charging.
All right. Okay.
It's not my turn yet. So.
Win. It is your turn.
Right. She will close the remaining distance and attack. And this is the first attack since the Guiding Bolt. Correct?
I believe that's correct.
Yep. Pretty Guiding Bolts, man.
12.
12 to strike.
Yes.
Wind misses. So you close the distance, and you attempt to strike, but you just don't find purchase in it. It steps out of the way. Wallace.
I'm stuck between doing two things here. I don't know if it is a bit. I don't know if it's a bit meta to ask, but can I, is this person, resistant to being commanded?
You don't know.
Okay.
It's nothing that you wouldn't have any idea,
Okay, then I'm going to say chances this. Smell. So that is a 16 to hit.
16 will strike.
Oh, wow. That's 16 points of damage.
Damn, dude.
I now have no first level spell slots.
Alright, Toby.
That's fine, you're putting in work.
He's gonna try Chill Touch again. So,
Alright, go for it.
and no. Gotta love it. So,
Alright.
can't seem to do it.
Okay, alright. Sir K.
So question, is this figure backed up against a wall? You said he was kind of in a corner.
It's kind of cornered right now.
Okay. I'm gonna rush up. I'm gonna make one swing with the longsword, because I'm using longsword and shield. So, that's a 15 hit.
15 strikes.
Okay. D8. I will drop a spectate of this because I have my spell slots ready. So it's going to be 3d8, or it's going to be 1d8 for the slashing and 2d8 for the radiant.
Okay.
So the slashing will be 10 points of damage in case he's resistant. And then the radiant will be 6 and 5, so 11 points of damage for the radiant.
Alright.
As bonus action, I'm just gonna see if I can shove him against the wall and reverse Kool-Aid Man him.
Okay. Alright,
I
well...
don't know if it's gonna work. I'm gonna try a shove attack and see if I could just kind of bounce him off the wall.
Alright, well, you take him out, so you tell me how it looks as you do that.
Oh, he's dead. Okay. Did not see that coming. Yeah, screw it. I'll reverse Kool-Aid Man him in a cool callback to the Toby diving at the inn scene. I'm just gonna it's gonna be basically a Spartan charge where it's shield first, kind of sword alongside it. Yeah, the sword's gonna smite, push, pierce, and then break through him through the wall, and then the shield is just gonna carry us both out and probably past the descending Junie as we go down. And then I'm just gonna make sure he lands first, and then roll off him off the shield and be like, "Oh, why do I keep doing this?"
Okay.
And then stand back up.
Alright, so you take your charge, as you've mentioned, smiting him, plunging your sword through him, just seeing that, it goes through the wall, like a hot knife through butter, and then you just continue forward with your charge, with your shield, plowing into the wall, and the wall just, already deteriorating, crumbles under your weight, and you plunge 50 feet to the ground. Junie, we will say that you do observe this as you're trying to climb back down the side of the tower. Sir Kay and this figure are just plummeting to the ground. Now, you do that.
Would I see them once I get down and like walk in through the front door? Would I see them just like laying there essentially?
Yeah, you see them hit the ground. You're kind of like getting back to the bottom of the tower. Eric, you'll take another 20 points of damage as you hit the ground.
I'm still awake.
Real hard. Real hard.
I'm so glad I healed myself. I have 8 hit points left.
Yeah. And, you manage to roll out of the way of your sword and everything and, roll off the top of it. But as you see it there, it is very, very much dead. Now, we're a little past our time, 10:08. I think that perhaps we should break here and pick up kind of like at this very moment next session, if everyone is okay with that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
God knows it's probably not the only thing in this tower.
That wasn't actually a stick, it was just like
It's just a minion.
Yeah. So we'll stop here. We'll pick up.
I'm trying to buy some new dice this week because these dice keep failing me. Like I'm starting to feel really bad at how like I'm the weakest link of this group, but it's really starting to get infuriating.
Yeah, it sucks to roll low a lot in one session.
They're all secondhand dice, so like I don't get the feel of them,
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. Like I said, I don't want to give any more flavor. We'll just pick up from this moment right after Sir Kay plunges to the ground with this figure. So we'll stop there. Before we go tonight, anyone have anything they want to plug? Shondell.
Just Twitter. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Shandy Valley, and I'm actually going to start streaming again this week. So look out for that.
Okay. Awesome. Lewis.
Shout out to the DM call. DM Nexus.
Sorry, man. You cut out for a lot of that, so I'm going to let you say that again.
God. You can follow me on DM Nexus. Did it cut out again?
It cut out again.
Yeah.
Follow you on Twitter at
Right.
DM Nexus. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. And then a shout out to the DM Collective, I think is what you said initially. So
We should just get you signed, Lewis.
Very much, man.
all right,
I'm
Kristen.
going to write it out for next week. I'm going to write it out right now.
I'm Kristen. You can follow me on Twitter. It's T-Pirate now. Playing a bunch of games and have a podcast, Roll for Lore. If you are going to MomoCon this weekend, I will be there. I will be with podcast Northwest Quest and Loot and Dagger and Stuff the Bard from Experience Points. We'll be playing games and hanging out and seeing panels. So if you want to hang out, come in and we'll have a great time.
Okay, awesome. Eric.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at Lewis.
Yeah.
It's too late, man.
Got that sign handy.
I can't. Okay. You can find me at Eldritch Curl on Twitter and Discord. I'm an admin for the Playcasters Society. So if you have your own like actual play stream or podcast, come find us. We'd love to chat. Also, I'm part of the Dice Night podcast, and we didn't release an episode today because we've got some really cool stuff coming out this next week that I'm super excited for, and also kind of scared for because it's big. So look for an episode from us on Friday, and then again on Monday as well. We're gonna have some cool stuff coming out.
Okay, awesome. Jess.
All right. I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but I was crocheting all night. I've got just about all the pieces made for 2 dice boxes
Cool.
Nice.
that look like this. Hopefully I'll get them all together and my shop by the weekend. And you can find the link to that on my Twitter at palace_fairy.
Okay, awesome. Looks good. And I am RJ Cresswell, and this is the Tainted Lance Mist of Mournton. This was episode 11. We'll be back next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Not plugging anything in particular, but you can find me on Twitter at RJ_Cresswell. So thank you all very much for playing tonight. Hope to see you all next week, and we'll pick up where we left off.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night, y'all.
See ya.